as I appear to have run afoul of probably the worst woman in American politics, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the congressperson from the 14th District of Georgia, is unhappy. She's specifically unhappy with me. She's had a tough couple of days. On our show Tuesday night, MTG, Clan Mom as we call her, earlier in the day, called 3 of her fellow Republicans pro-pedophile for supporting Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson's nomination to the Supreme Court, which is lovely, a lovely thing to say. So I made a joke. I said, where is Will Smith when you need him? And contacts my employer. This threat of violence against me by Jimmy Kimmel has been filed with the Capitol Police. She called the police and reported this. Not only did she call the police, she called the same police she voted against giving a Congressional Gold Medal to for defending our Capitol against the insurrection. She helped incite. This afternoon, she wrote, "You weren't joking. You hide your misogyny and your racism behind your jokes on ABC. This was a dog whistle to the violent left to assault me or worse." And you're misspelled "you're," of course, already inspiring fantasies of violence against me. How many new death threats will I get that are your fans? Death or any kind of threats against anyone, especially since I get dozens of them a week myself from the sickos who align with you. I also find it very rich that a person who did this in her campaign ad is suddenly whining about fantasies of violence. How does this even compute? This woman, you may remember, she's the one who endorsed fringe conspiracy theories and repeatedly indicated support for executing prominent Democratic politicians. Now she's dialing 911 because she got made fun of. She's a snowflake and a sociopath at the same time. A snowciopath, as we call it from now on, made out with the president at the White House. The White House isn't worried. They claim she's not considered to be a close contact. If that's not a close contact, what are they waiting for? Full penetration? That's a close contact.
First, new evidence tonight that we, you, the American people, all of us, we were all lied to.
Frankly, we did win this election. We did win this election.
We were lied to by Joe Biden.
You know, we won Georgia, just so you understand.
Declaring that he could beat the virus as president. Told that lie a lot.
We're going to beat this coronavirus, or whatever you want to call it, and we're going to beat it soundly.
And Biden's lies are so bad that even the Washington Post is calling him out for his lies.
The Washington Post new report out today. 1,100 lies and mistruths in October alone.
Almost everything he says is poorly read from a teleprompter.
They sacrifice every day for the furniture, future.
And today, yet again, he struggled to get words out.
Anonymous, really anonymous. Obama, amnesty, amnesty, Obama, amnesty.
What kind of president needs a no card to answer a basic and predictable question?
In his hand on a White House piece of stationery were 5 handwritten bullet points. Number 5 clearly reads, "I hear you."
Joe, let's be honest, was never particularly a smart or a bright guy. Don't expect Joe Biden to ever right the ship or take responsibility.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
Joe is humiliating our entire country on the world stage.
We do have a very special relationship. In fact, I'll get that little piece of Vanderbilt.
Just when you thought Biden couldn't get any worse, well, he did.
Very fine people on both sides.
And any more divorced from reality, he is.
If you have a windmill and they say the noise causes cancer.
As Joe Biden completely mismanages COVID-19.
This is going to go away without a vaccine. It's going to go away, and we're not going to see it again.
Where are the tests, Joe?
So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please.
No doubt, Vladimir Putin is just shaking in his boots.
I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this. I don't see any reason why it would be.
Jen Psaki clarifying Biden's remarks.
I realize that there is a need for some clarification.
All right, so we know that Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia was among the Republican lawmakers who are instrumental in trying to prevent Congress from certifying Joe Biden's election as President of the United States on January the 6th. We all know that. We saw it. You heard it right there. And last month, a group called Free Speech for People filed a complaint with Georgia's Secretary of State arguing that because of Greene's actions, quote, she is constitutionally disqualified from congressional office and as such ineligible to run as a candidate under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. Now, the group asked Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to call a hearing to determine whether Representative Greene is eligible for office, and if it is determined she is not eligible, withhold her name from the ballot or even strike her name from the ballot if the ballots have been printed.
Jimmy Kimmel walked onto the stage with his signature smirk, shaking his head as the audience buzzed with anticipation. Adjusting his suit, he sighed dramatically before addressing the crowd. Well, folks, we have a situation. A real, actual, elected member of Congress has reported me to the police. Yes, the actual police. This is not a joke. Well, technically it is, but not in the way she thinks. The audience laughed as Kimmel continued, pacing slightly as if trying to make sense of the absurdity. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who, when she's not busy spreading conspiracy theories, apparently moonlights as America's most easily offended citizen, has officially filed a complaint against me with the Capitol Police. Why? Because I made a joke? You know, the thing I get paid to do? He paused, shaking his head in mock disbelief. Let me get this straight. This is the same woman who heckles President Biden during the State of the Union, promotes wild conspiracies about Jewish space lasers, and suggested school shootings were staged, and I'm the threat? Marjorie, please. He leaned forward on his desk, placing his hands on the surface as if delivering serious news. Now, in case you missed it, here's what happened. On my show the other night, I made a tiny, harmless joke after she accused her fellow Republicans of being pro-pedophile, simply because they supported Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson's confirmation to the Supreme Court. That's already ridiculous on its own. So I made a simple, innocent Oscars reference. I said, "Where's Will Smith when you need him?" That's it. That was the joke. And now, Marjorie Taylor Greene thinks that's a violent threat? He lifted his hands in exasperation as the audience erupted in laughter. Ma'am, this is late-night comedy. This isn't a UFC weigh-in. You don't need to call security. Kimmel started flipping through imaginary paperwork on his desk as if reading from a report. Let's just break this down for a second. You mean to tell me that you, the same person who openly supported QAnon, chased down school shooting survivors to scream in their faces, called for Nancy Pelosi to be executed, and compared mask mandates to the Holocaust? Think I crossed the line? You, Marjorie, the same woman who heckled Biden like an angry football dad at a high school game? You're the one clutching your pearls over my joke? He looked up, shaking his head in amusement as the audience roared. If irony were a crime, you'd be serving life without parole. He leaned back in his chair, rubbing his forehead as if processing the absurdity of it all. And let's be real, what exactly does she think the police are going to do? Imagine the call. Hello, officer. Yes, I'd like to report a comedian for doing his job. What's next? Is she going to report John Oliver for having an accent? Is Stephen Colbert now a national security risk? Should Seth Meyers turn himself in before it's too late? I mean, if cracking jokes about Marjorie Taylor Greene is illegal now, then what do we even do here? Just shut down late-night TV? He sighed, taking a sip from his mug. The wildest part is that this isn't even a bit. She actually went through with it, like took the time to type up a complaint, filed it, and sent it to law enforcement like this was a serious crime. I don't know what's more concerning, the fact that she thinks she has a case or the fact that she doesn't seem to understand how jokes work. Marjorie, let me explain this to you. Late-night hosts make fun of politicians. That's literally our job. This isn't a new thing. Leno did it, Letterman did it, Carson did it. We've been making fun of public officials for decades. The difference is, most politicians either laugh it off or ignore it. You, on the other hand, are acting like I'm the Joker and you're Gotham's last hope. The audience burst into laughter as Kimmel leaned closer, lowering his voice as if sharing a secret. Look, I get it, Marjorie. It must be exhausting spending all your time yelling about conspiracy theories and trying to make headlines, but maybe, just maybe, you could focus on your actual job instead of calling the cops on comedians. You know, like work on legislation, help your constituents, or at the very least, Google satire before you hit send on that police report. He threw up his hands in mock exasperation. But hey, if you want to keep this feud going, I'm here for it. I love a good fight, especially when my opponent is this hilariously bad at it. Just know that if you keep reporting comedians to the police, you're going to need a lot more officers. And maybe, just maybe, a sense of humor. but I hear those are in short supply over at your office." He winked at the camera, shrugged, and threw to commercial as the audience cheered and applauded.